Hello, everyone. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos. We truly appreciate you checking in right now with us in a special conversation with my good friend Rob McCallum from robmccallumfilms.com. You got to check out all the great projects that he has going on today at robmccallumfilms.com. But right now, we're going to be talking some crowdfunding options for everyone out there. He's got a great workshop that's coming up on March 25th from 1 to 5 p.m. in the London, Ontario area. You want to make sure for more information, check out the availability for tickets on Eventbrite today. And I'll tell you what, if you have any more questions on that, even, you can just check out Backed or Busted Crowdfunding on his Facebook page or robmccallumfilms.com. Rob, it's so great to have you as part of this, and truly appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk to me about some great crowdfunding options.
Yeah, well, this is a little bit for everybody, right? This is for you. This is a good reminder for me. This is a good way to get information out for people that are curious about crowdfunding, whether they're coming to the workshop itself on March 25th, whether they're in the London, Ontario region or not. Everybody can benefit from crowdfunding. So I thought I would just hold a little information session. I've got, 10 questions or so that people have thrown at me in the last month as I've been doing Backed or Busted, my new web series that started at the beginning of the year. I thought, why not culminate it together in a quick info session that builds towards the event itself? And maybe for people that can't make the event, we can find a way to work together and get their dream project kind of off the ground and on Kickstarter.
Well, that's something I want to talk to you about first, though, as far as your crowdfunding background. I know personally about some of your crowdfunding operations that I've helped and tried to be a part of. But I want to make sure that everyone out there gets a little bit of FYI on you and the crowdfunding options that you've been a part of, and really why this not only seminar, but really what motivates you to go ahead and teach others about crowdfunding.
Well, in terms of my background, I've run 10, or I've been a part of 10 or 12 different campaigns in varying capacities, either as a creator, a heavy primary collaborator, or consultant. And they've all been successful to varying degrees, some wildly successful, some just hitting their goal, and some, going above and beyond expectations. So it's really been a cool learning experience for me to constantly apply my knowledge to new projects and see what I can learn as I go through it and how I can bring that forward. A lot of the stuff that I've done has been video game projects, film projects, and things that are kind of hybrids of both, or that will include both kind of components. So a lot of pop culture stuff. And on Backed or Busted, the web series I know you're familiar with, Gerald, I basically kind of stay in the same realm. I do a lot of films, documentaries, comic books, graphic novels, anything that has that cool kind of vibe. The stuff that I'm into is the stuff that I want to learn more about and share about and comment on. So that's kind of my wheelhouse.
Oh, that's awesome indeed. And they can check out all of your great videos today on Backed or Busted Crowdfunding on Facebook or YouTube, or as bonus material on several episodes of the Pop Culture Cosmos available today on Apple Podcasts. Now, I want to ask you real quick, like I said, we've got a great event that you're hosting coming up on the 25th of March in the London, Ontario area. Can you quickly just share some more information on that and give everybody an idea why that this is so important if they do have a potential crowdfunding campaign they want to think up?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm from London, Ontario. I've lived abroad for the last 10 years or so in the US, and I've come back, and I've noticed a lot of cool things happening in this community. I've noticed that entrepreneurial spirit that you can just feel in the air as you talk to people. And I feel like there's just one kind of hurdle that's stopping a lot of people, and that's just a little bit of injection from capital or a little bit of fundraising to really help motivate them to take it to the next step. And that's where I thought, well, I do a lot of crowdfunding stuff, primarily on Kickstarter, although some Indiegogo stuff as well. And why not help the community that I'm a part of, very specifically, and the community abroad, learn more about this? And people will say, well, why don't you just keep the secrets for yourself and constantly do your own projects? And it's pretty simple. One, I like to work with a lot of people. I like to work with creative people. I want to see more cool creative projects out there so that I can have them as a fan. And if I can find a way to do what I'm doing and let other people do what they're doing, I think it's kind of lame, but the world is a bit of a better place when there's more good things to watch and engage in. So if I can help you or somebody else with their project and show them the kind of ropes on Kickstarter for a little bit of time and the cost of an afternoon, then why not take that chance? And what makes the event in London particularly special compared to like online offerings or course materials or even buying books is that it's one-on-one time. I've got, a syllabus and a course outline where we'll go through everything from idea and that kind of concept to make sure it's right for Kickstarter, all the way through what happens when I hit the launch button and navigating the campaign when it's live. But you get that one-on-one time with me. You get to throw those curveballs at me. You get to basically talk with me about those one-on-one specific questions that pertain to your campaign and how I might be able to give you some insight in the moment versus just applying a theoretical approach to something that you would get in a book or that you would get in an online kind of offering. Now, we may do an online offering down the road. It would have to be completely immersive and engagement, but I really want to do this one-on-one stuff because crowdfunding works best when you can work with people. As much as this is an online presence, it is very much a people thing. You're trying to talk to the people that are out there that are interested in your project. You got to work with people to make this happen. So I'm kind of a firm believer that the first step is to work with people in person. And that's why this event in my hometown is so crucial. And it's only 4 hours, 1 to 5 p.m., March 25th, like you said.
And it's available today. Tickets are on eventbrite.com. So you got to check that out indeed if you are in the London, Ontario area, or if you want to head over there on March 25th. Now, as someone who has contemplated and actually worked up at times something out for a Pop Culture Cosmos crowdfunding campaign, I've actually, thought about it. Is it something I should do? Is it something maybe I should lean on? Maybe something I should lean against? And I've actually, run that by you on occasion. First thing I got to ask, and this is one of the questions that's been brought up, is where do folks, where do they make their mistakes right off the bat? Where do you see when you watch and you investigate all these crowdfunding campaigns, where do they make the mistakes the most?
Well, I tell you, when I navigate to a page that's been pointed out to me, or if I'm just kind of, surfing Kickstarter or Indiegogo or even on KickTrack for what's going on, you can tell projects from first-time creators almost straight away that have had zero help because they just kind of put their idea against the wall, like they're throwing, just ideas to see what'll stick. Almost like if you were to face a brick wall and you had a paint gun and you just started splattering and you're like, hey, that looks pretty. Hopefully this works. And then they dust their hands off and then they walk away. You can feel like a lot of passion and energy just got kind of thrown out there and dispensed in one foul swoop with not a lot of strategy or execution. There's something there of an idea. It might not necessarily be completely worked out or right for the platform, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or GoFundMe, but there's something there that sort of applies, but hasn't really been thought out, and certainly hasn't been put through the rigor and the kind of gears, the machine that is part of crowdfunding.
Yeah.
So,
where people that makes total sense, and I hope everybody out there listening can actually draw from that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, where people make like the mistakes right away is that they think they can just put whatever online, hit launch, and that it's going to come to them, and that they're not working at constantly improving that campaign experience. What I call the campaign experience is when the person, the potential backer, comes to your page, what is that experience as they're spending time there? And what is that experience upon their first visit to their last visit throughout the duration of the campaign? How is that adventure changing, and how is it evolving for them to feel like this is a living, breathing thing and not just like a money grab opportunity or just like kind of more of a passive pre-order for a product? How is this like exciting? And if you're just throwing stuff up there that hasn't been thought out, then I think you're making a big mistake and you haven't done enough homework. So that would be, I guess, the biggest mistake people make: not enough homework and not enough thought.
Well, if that's the case, then let's take a look at it this way. How can I be successful at it? How can I make it grow and make it something special that people will back, and that not only will meet expectation, but go beyond that?
It's kind of doing the opposite. Make sure you do enough homework. Make sure you have done your research. It's going to vary depending on what kind of campaign you're launching. Like if you're going to do a fashion project, a tech project, or a film project, there's going to be certain things that you're going to want to do to be successful that are inherent to those kind of projects. More than anything, though, you want a slick campaign that looks professional. Be professional. That's how you can be successful. If you look professional on your campaign and your presence, then your campaign will be professionally like viewed upon and come across as very successful. I always tell people with regards to their video, and there's some questions I got about videos that we'll talk about down the road. If your video is crappy or it's lackluster or it's shot with your cell phone and you're holding it and you're trying to get your spiel out, that's what people are going to think of your product. So everything you do on your page is reflective of the thing that you're trying to raise money for. So if you're going to give them this great product or this project or whatever you're doing, make sure your campaign page is up to the same level as the thing that you're trying to create. So be professional.
Well, you were just hitting upon money, and obviously that's the motivator here. Well, if that's the case, how much money should I ask for then?
This is a very tough question, and I get the money question all the time. How much do I need to be successful? Well, there's Kickstarter fees you got to take into account. There's shipping that you got to take into account. There's the production or the distribution of the actual thing that you're trying to do. And then there's the money that you need to have this thing come to life. So the short answer I always tell people as at least a starting point, and it may be under, it may be over, is go for double what you think you need. If you need $50,000 to make your film, try to raise $100,000 because there's going to be a ton of hidden costs that you're probably not aware of. And especially for people that are the first timers on Kickstarter or the first timers in creating a project of a certain kind that they've never created before. So if you're a first time filmmaker or you've never made a film on your own, but only with other people, then ask for closer to double of what you're looking for, because it's just some inexperience that you don't know about and some pitfalls you won't see coming. It's very important that you do your research and you find out exactly what something is going to cost you to make it come to life. Make sure that that money is reflected within your rewards, but then you kind of budget for things that you don't expect. That's pretty critical.
Well, you talk about putting so much work into it as well, and all the things you have to do to maintain it, to try and bring it to that next level. It's, I guess you could say it's almost like having a second job. And if that's the case, can you elaborate more into that and tell me exactly how much work you have to put into the campaign to make it successful?
Yeah, there is a thing called like second job syndrome. You should realize that when you're going out there to do this, that this is the thing you're trying to do, so you need to put effort towards it. It's not, like I said when we first started talking, throwing a bunch of stuff on a wall and making sure that it looks pretty or good enough. This is about working at something so that it looks good. And when you run a campaign, you will find that you'll be spending a lot of time during the course of that campaign, but also before you even hit launch. As a rule of thumb, I typically start working on a campaign at the very least mentally, if not like in a hard skills fashion, 6 months before it starts. So 6 months before I hit the launch button, I'm starting to populate my Kickstarter or Indiegogo page with ideas and design layouts. And I'm just working out the kinks and I'm reading it over and fine tuning stuff. And I'm letting the project evolve and I'm researching different things online to see what makes the most sense. And that takes a lot of time. If you've got a full-time job, you're working 8 hours, a 9 to 5, you've got to put time in after the fact to make sure that your project, your dream project, or this thing that you really want to do that's going to require money and attention from other people has the time invested as well. I say 6 months because you might not have 8 hours a day to put into that. So you might only have 2 or 3, but 2 or 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, even if you want to take the weekends off, adds up a lot over the course of, 6 months. That's 15 hours a week at 3 hours a day, and that's 60 hours a month times 6 months. You're looking at 360 hours before you even launch your campaign. And that's if you're kind of doing it on the part-time side. But every hour you put in will be reflected in the success that you get after the fact if it's spent well and with intelligence.
Once again, I'm talking to Rob McCallum from robmccallumfilms.com. You got to check out all of his great projects today. And also as well, you got to check out his Backed or Busted crowdfunding page to see how he analyzes various crowdfunding campaigns and takes a look at it as far as from an analytical standpoint and breaks it down whether or not he will support it or not support those various crowdfunding campaigns. He has got a crowdfunding workshop coming to the London, Ontario area, March 25th from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. You got to check it out. If for more information on that, you just go to eventbrite.com to get tickets today. Rob, I want to ask you, you talked a little bit earlier about, that we would be heading in later on about video as far as being either a key component or something that depending on the project may or may not be needed. Let me ask you this. Do I need a video to attach to my crowdfunding campaign?
The video is probably the most important part of a Kickstarter campaign. And I'm pretty blessed because I'm a filmmaker and I work in the video medium a lot. So it's something that I can handle a little bit better than others. If you're not a filmmaker or you don't have access to someone who understands how to make a video, please invest in it. It's going to be what helps you look professional, as we talked about earlier. It's going to be what sets the stage and starts to build that trust and that bridge to your potential backers. If your video looks well, then your project will look great, and it just kind of lines up. Do you need a video? No, you don't need a video. You can launch without a video. Will you be successful without a video? I don't know. Now that brings up a bunch of questions. Do I need a video if it's going to be a crappy video, or should I not have a video? That's a fine line. I think it's always important to hear from the creators. So if you don't have a video of your project or your product that you're trying to bring to Kickstarter and have it come to life, then at least try to shoot something with yourself. I don't like the idea of you using your camera phone, holding it as you're walking around and it's all shaky, handheld style. I don't think that's the right approach. Get somebody to help you. Invest in a shooter, even if it costs you a couple $100 to get something that looks professional. It is a must, in my opinion. There are very few examples I can think of where a video is not needed. It just really starts the discussion on what your project is and why it matters. The only thing that should matter more than the video is what the concept is and how inherently understandable is that concept. If I see what your title is on Kickstarter and I see what your short description, your one line after that further elaborates on your title, and I get it, great. But that video further extrapolates on what is going to happen, why this project is important, and who you are as a creator. So do you need a video? You absolutely need a video, and it needs to be good.
Because even if you're talking about something like a tabletop game or a book or something that's not video related, you still need a video, in my opinion, to find out more about the individuals themselves that are behind the project, don't you think?
Yeah, you need to showcase what your product is. So even if you're camera shy as a creator and you've made this tabletop game, this cool new board game that you believe in, you've worked on it for years or you've worked on it for weeks, and you kind of want to come to Kickstarter, you need to show us what that thing looks like. Seeing is believing. Show us what you got. Like Rick and Morty, show us what you got. That's what I want to see. Bring it to the next level and show me whatever you can. Even in a worst case scenario, if it's nothing but a bunch of still images of photography that you've taken, even if you've only taken it with your phone, show me as much as you can so that I can wrap my head around the decision between being a part of your campaign or not being a part of your campaign. That is crucial. So show me what you got.
Show me what you got, indeed. So that means I can't pull out the old VHS camera.
You can if it fits your project. Never say never that there's nothing, there's no rules, you know what I mean? Rules are meant to be broken and all that. If you've got a VHS camera and that's the only thing you've got, but it looks good and the video plays well, then use it. That's what matters. And if you're great at making films and videos with your cell phone, then yes, absolutely use it. But just make sure that the choices you make with regards to the video you put on Kickstarter enhances the viability of your project success.
Well, there you go. There you go, indeed. I want to ask you this. You and I both delve a lot into pop culture. Obviously, I delve into it quite regularly along with you every single week. One of the times around pop culture that gets talked about a lot is right around Christmas. A lot of money is spent on Christmas, as far as buying gifts for the family, friends, co-workers, what have you. You and I talk about it being so important to the video game market. Obviously, when it comes to movies, a lot of the either big box office movies hit or also as well Academy Award potential hopefuls are also around there. So people, are spending money there as well. Plus, all the other things, food and things for the family, whatnot. I want to ask you this. Is it a good time of the year to already start investing in a crowdfunding campaign as far as create it and bring it to life? Or is it better if you debut it at some other point in the year?
Well, this is a question that I get a lot. Should I run a campaign after Thanksgiving before Christmas? Should I have a campaign that's over the Christmas to New Year's holiday? Should I do something in January when people are worried about tax? Should I do something with March break and people are going to be away? Should I do something in April and May when there's exams for university kids? Should I do something in the summer when people are out traveling more? Should I do something in September when kids are back to school? The reality is there's never like the perfect month and the perfect week and the perfect time to launch your campaign. I will tell you that statistically, fewer campaigns are run between American Thanksgiving and Christmas, but the success rate isn't any different compared to any other time of the year. So kind of read into that as much as you want. You'll have less competition and you're going to have the same chances at success than other campaigns that are out there. But at the same time, you are going to be dealing with people doing holiday things. You are going to be dealing with lots of family events and Christmas parties. So what are you doing to get people's attention? Are you going to have to work harder in order to achieve that same level of success as campaigns outside of that window? So it's not a bad idea to run a campaign on Christmas, especially if it's Christmas themed. But I will say, if it is Christmas themed, make sure it ends before Christmas, because if you're trying to sell something that's Christmassy after Christmas, it usually doesn't work.
Yeah, I can understand that, but it's the old adage as far as if you're you'll have less competition, like you're saying, but also as well, there's going to be a lot less attention to it unless you try and do it and make extra steps in order to try and bring more attention to it as well. So the work becomes even that much harder. All right, I got to ask you, I heard a lot of shoulds and shoulds and shoulds in your statement. Well, let me ask you this. When it comes to a crowdfunding campaign, what should I make sure not to do in order to, jeopardize or pretty much kill off my crowdfunding campaign before it really gets into action?
Well, this kind of goes back to some of the stuff that we've kind of already talked about, but this is, I'm gonna address people that have run a Kickstarter campaign before, or people that have a little bit of knowledge of the process or are coming into it. And that's, don't take it for granted. You should make sure you do not take running a campaign for granted because you've run one before. We've already talked about how much work it's going to take to run a campaign, and that you've got to be pro, and that what to do for success, and how to really pinpoint that goal. But make sure you don't take it for granted. Make sure that you don't create this awesome video and that your page looks great, and then you set it and forget it. You got to do a little bit more than that. You got to make sure that you realize that this is a living, breathing entity. Like I said, don't take it for granted. Every campaign is different. One of the reasons I do Backed or Busted is because I was doing it anyways behind the scenes, but I thought it would be better to constantly do it live. And by adhering to a schedule where I want to release episodes, it kind of forced me to stay in the loop on crowdfunding. It made me stay frosty, if you will. It made me up and to date. So when I'm ready to launch another campaign, which won't be that far from now, I believe, I'm going to go back through all my episodes. I'm going to go back through all my notes. I'm going to go back through all my books just to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything, just to make sure that I haven't glossed over something, because I've run so many campaigns that I've been able to raise as much money as I have. Some of the stuff you won't be able to think about, and some of the times you pivot with a campaign won't happen until you're kind of knee deep in it and you get that kind of bolt of inspiration. But you can do a lot to avoid that. And a lot of it is staying humble, sharing your stuff with friends, and just doing your research. So again, do your homework. Don't take it for granted. And that is the best way to set you up for success, I think.
Absolutely. And we've talked about before in the past about crowdfunding campaigns that they've achieved their goals, but unfortunately, due to stuff behind the scenes, they've made mistakes, and it's really cost their goodwill and PR as far as crowdfunding campaigns is concerned. We've seen mistakes made that have cost crowdfunding campaigns, but we've also seen crowdfunding campaigns that have really achieved success. You have several, like you said, to your name as well. Give me actually, what we've talked about what you shouldn't do, but what should you do in order to make that crowdfunding campaign so special?
You should definitely divorce yourself from your position as a campaign creator. What I mean is, and this is part of the 6 months before you hit launch, you need to take some time away from what you're doing so that you can kind of forget about this project and come back to it with fresh eyes so that you can see what it's like as a visitor to your page, as somebody who's a potential backer. You need to have objectivity, and that's so important because when you come to a page as a backer, you're going to be scrutinizing things a lot more because you got to put your money down. You've got to risk your hard-earned dollars. So what are you doing on your page that's fair, consumer conscious, and worthy of somebody's time and money to back you? That's the thing you need to do. You need to be objective and make sure that you're being fair with what you're offering. As a consumer, is this something that you would get on board with? As a potential backer, is this something that you would back? Don't just ask for a fistful of dollars if you would never do the same thing yourself. That's not right. So make sure that whatever you put on the page is something that you would turn around and support on another project.
Well, he goes for that Clint Eastwood movie analogy with the fistful of dollars. I like that. But I will ask you this before we head on out. You've done so well as far as your crowdfunding campaigns are concerned, but give me one last piece of advice, or everybody out there, one last piece of advice on what they need to do to make their crowdfunding campaigns that much better.
This one's going to be a little tough to swallow, but you may be able to get around it a little bit. And this one last kind of piece of advice that's invaluable is don't be afraid to spend money to make your campaign better. Whether that's hiring people with the art and the look of your campaign page and headers and the way that the graphics flow, or the video itself, or like a poster image for your product or your movie or whatever it is. Don't be afraid to spend money to make money. It's a pretty old adage. And I know it's hard because you're like, Rob, but I'm trying to raise money just to make it happen. I can't spend money when I need the money. Well, you might not even have a shot at that money if you don't come across as, being ready to receive the money. So I think that's pretty important. Now, here's the other caveat to that. If you can't spend money, find a way to work with people that know crowdfunding and Kickstarter and Indiegogo so that your campaign can be better. There are people out there, myself included, that will work on a strict percentage for what you take in if the project and yourself are organized. That's no money out of your pocket. That is just simply, a percentage of the final kind of haul, which is a pretty good deal for everybody involved. Now, when you have to, cut off some of the percentage points at the end, that means you've got to ask for a little bit more too. But that doesn't mean anything comes out of your pocket. So find a way to stay professional and invest in it, and consider giving up a little piece of the pie in order to get you up to at least par, if not beyond, to get ahead of the pack and be successful.
That's some great advice indeed. Once again, it's Rob McCallum from robmccallumfilms.com. You got to check out his great website and all of his great projects. His Backed or Busted crowdfunding page on Facebook and also YouTube. And also, don't forget, he is hosting an event in the London, Ontario area on March 25th from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. You got to check out for more ticket information. You got to check it out today on eventbrite.com. Rob, it's been truly a pleasure to talk some crowdfunding campaigns with you and the do's and don'ts of it. It's just truly a pleasure to do so. And I wish you nothing but the best in all of your future crowdfunding campaigns. And to everyone out there that is thinking about it or about ready to go ahead and push the button on a crowdfunding campaign, all the best to you as well. Rob, can't thank you enough for standing by and being here for this Q&A on crowdfunding.
Yeah, I appreciate you kind of hosting and moderating these questions that have come to me. We made a little conversation out of it. If anybody out there is curious more about what's going on, again, facebook.com/backedOrBustedCrowdfunding, or you can email me at crowdfundingspectacular99@gmail.com, or hit me up at Twitter @RobMcZob. I'm here to help. Whether you need some help on the consultation side, you just want me to take a look at your project. I may even make you a victim of Backed or Busted, our ongoing web series. So thanks for the questions, everybody that sent them in. Thank you, Gerald. And I look forward to speaking further on an episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos sometime in the future, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I look forward to it indeed. Rob, it's always a great pleasure to have you a part of this, and always the best of luck to everyone out there on their crowdfunding campaigns.
Cheers.